back for day number 2. Yesterday I was like, I gotta get back consistent. I gotta get back consistent. So I said, today I'm going live again. Gotta get back on the horse. So for anybody who's joining me, welcome. I'm Melissa King, and I just came to chit chat. Today is, you know what? Since school has been out, I have had such a hard time keeping up with the days of the week, because the way I usually can figure out how the week where we are in the week is based on my daughter going to school. So since she's out for the summer, all of the days are kind of running together. So and then my other friend, one of my besties in Atlanta, she works from home on Wednesday. So when I see her, we do. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Marco Polo, but me and my 2 best friends from college, we do Marco Polo a lot. And so that's a way that we can kind of hang out with each other all day, even though we're in 3, both of them are in Atlanta and I'm here. So yeah, usually when I turn on the thing and see that Tanisha is sitting at home, I'm like, oh, it's Wednesday. The week is halfway over. So today is Thursday, I guess. It's been a crazy week. I worked. I would say I was thrown off by the holiday, but I can't really say that because I worked Monday too. So yeah, I'm just thrown off. And I don't know if I was telling y'all about all the stuff that happened since I've been gone. Did I let y'all see that I got my man in here with me now? Y'all see my Shaqster back there? Yeah. So he hangs out with me in the office now. So yeah. So okay, welcome back. Today, what I was going to talk about is, now a lot of you, some of you may be familiar with, like, some of the people that I see come in and like the chat or whatever, are from the sector that I visit a lot here on YouTube, called the beef sector. And just based on the name, you can tell there's a lot of beefing going on. I don't really get involved in that part, but it is cool to watch sometimes. I get a good kiki out of it, and I know I follow the stories over there. So what's going on over there now that made me want to talk about it was, there seems to be this really big something about me. I'm very transparent about where I come from, what I have. I've never been braggadocious or boastful about anything, because I feel like whatever God blesses you with, you should be humble, about it. Some of us have more than others have. And I just don't believe in, like, rubbing other people's faces in. But people will judge you based on where you're from, how much you weigh, what color your skin is. They will judge you based on all different stuff. And I just feel like that is so shallow. I don't like shallow people. I mean, you ain't got to be like deep depth, like, going deep all the time. But, let there be more to you than the top layer or the surface layer. So there are some people over there that are on a trip or whatever, and they're staying in a really nice hotel and down in South Beach area. And, from what I've watched of their trip, the focus is showing people where they're staying and bragging about what they have. And then, one of the people on the trip is pretty much saying that nobody else could afford this, that, and other. And I'm just like, how is that a thing? Because this is what I've learned. I grew up with a father that was very practical. Now, we didn't grow up dirt poor, but we didn't grow up rich either. So a lot of people would tell us, because my dad, because of his job, that we had money. And I'm like, we ain't got no money. He wasn't one, there were 4 of us. He wasn't one that would go out and make frivolous purchases. He didn't care about flexing on people or making people think that he made a lot of money. And so we didn't have name brand stuff. It didn't kill us. You know, we had quality. He didn't buy cheap stuff, but he didn't buy name brand stuff, and that was a thing for him. He just didn't want us being those type of kids. And it's four of us. We're all different. And now I took after him. I'm not real big on name brands, but I do love quality. So, when I hear people making statements like about things that, like something I heard yesterday, somebody say was like, anyone who has a white refrigerator and stove um, is not on their level. And I'm just like, well, I didn't know that was a thing. What color your refrigerator and stove is. I had no idea that was a thing. So I'm like, well, my refrigerator and stove are white. Of course, I live in an apartment, so I'm not buying no appliances. But my food stays cold. My freezer works. When I turn my stove on, it gets hot. So I'm just like, I didn't get that whole reference. And then, something that bothers me from time, it used to really bother me, but then I had to realize, once you get a certain age and reach a certain level of growth, you don't really worry about what people have to say about you. And I'm not gonna say I was always that way, because when we're younger, we all go through that phase. I think my daughter's going through it now, where she cares what other people think. I could give a damn about what other people think about me. My thing is, now, as far as my parents go, I don't want to embarrass them. And I will always be a reflection of them because they raised me. So I try to keep that in mind with my behavior. But as far as worrying about getting approval or somebody, being impressed with what I have and what I do, that's just not who I am. And I think a lot of people will get embarrassed because of what other people say. And you have, especially when you're on the internet, you have no way of knowing what other people got going on. They could be saying these things and living under a bridge or something like that. So I never try to take things personally. Another content creator made the comment this week about, they were talking about somebody who didn't have a job. And so the statement that he made was, go out there and get one of those little coding. Go to school for a coding certificate. You can do some coding or whatever. And the way he said it was kind of like, in a demeaning tone, like this, a job that anybody can do. Not saying anybody can't do it, but he was kind of putting it on a lower rank. And I was thinking to myself, now, I've been out of school now for almost 30 years. I've been a coder, or, they taught us coding in school. But then, I didn't go to school to be a coder. There's a difference. Now, don't get me wrong, there are certificate programs where you can go and just get a certification, where it's like, you go to school for, I don't know how many weeks, and then you get a certificate. But there's a difference between a certificate and certification. So for what I do, you have to have a certification, which means you sit for an exam, and you have to get continuing education credits to uphold your credentials. So, to hear someone kind of make light of it, sometimes it'll irritate me. Then I have to remember that not everybody knows what it is. So, but yeah, I've been in this field now since 1997. And my little coding job has gotten me through. So I'm not really, I don't really trip about people making it sound like a demeaning or subpar job. Now, I will be honest with you. It is not something that I wanted to do. And I think I started out telling you guys this story before about how I had moved to North Carolina to take a job with a research company with one of my friends that was living out there. and that job opportunity did not work out. And I think where I left off, I was gonna come back and tell you guys a story because I mentioned that my friend Tanisha, that was my best, she saved me twice. The first time I told you all about was when I was sitting up in class and didn't know what I was going to school for. And she told me what it was. Well, the second time came down to this job offer, this field that I'm doing now. Lord knows I did not want to do it because I am, and that's why I say God has a different sense of humor because I hate reading. It makes my eyes hurt. Um, Even though I wear glasses, it's still a terrible strain. So when I've read in the past, it's always been because I had to, not for pleasure or anything like that. So lo and behold, coding is nothing but reading and reading and reading all day long. So when I said the Lord has a sense of humor, he really has a sense of humor because the one thing that I hate to do turned out to be the thing that I needed to do to get where I am now. So, I'm in North Carolina. The job opportunity I moved there for didn't work out. I had to take a temp job. And with this temp job, I was making, I think maybe $11 an hour. And this was in 2004. And I was living in North Carolina in the Wilmington area, which is on the coast. So, you know, where I had a ridiculous car note that was over $500 a month. And what else? The apartment or a townhome that I had just signed a rental agreement before, like a week before they told me that I wasn't a good fit at the job I moved there for. Well, the rent was like $700-800 a month for this townhome. So I'm just like $11 an hour, car note, townhome. This not adding up. I got to do something else, So I had gotten to the point where the local grocery store, Harris Teeter, was looking for somebody to come in and work on the weekends. I have never been too proud to do it, to do a job. Nothing is menial to me. So like it was between them and we had a Taco Bell. Now I worked at Taco Bell in high school and through my last 3 years of college. I wasn't embarrassed to go back and flame them tacos either. And it wasn't too far from where I was working at when I got let go. And I would have been right there in the window passing out them orders to the same people that I was sitting in the cubicle next to. Because the fact of the matter is, when you need money, you got bills to pay, you do what you gotta do. You don't worry about all that. Now some people will, but I don't. I'm just like, money is money. I'm not gonna do anything illegal for it. But I don't have no shame when it comes to providing. Like even now, if I had to go back to Taco Bell, because I still can do a mean bean burrito, and now they got all these new products I ain't familiar with. But hey, if I need to, I can get in there and learn it and do it. And then the killer part is now, my friend sent a thing on IG where somebody was posting at McDonald's was hiring new employees for $21 an hour. We were trying to figure out whether it was a joke, but I was like, even if the 21 is not correct, I know at the McDonald's over here by me, they're starting people out as crew members at between 13 to 15 an hour. Now, when I was working at Taco Bell doing fast food, I was getting minimum wage. That was $4 and I want to say 37 cents an hour. And now you can go do the same thing. Now, true enough, inflation has hit. Times have changed, things are more expensive, but still, fast food and I can make $13 to $15 an hour is not bad. I'm just saying. So yeah. So I'm living there, and then I went on Indeed.com. Is it Indeed? No, it's not Indeed. I went on Monster.com. Back then, Monster.com was a really good site to go to put your resume out there and everything. So I did that. I got on Monster.com. I put my resume out there, and I figured when I did it, it was just going to disappear into, cyberspace and no one would ever contact me. But lo and behold, Like I put that out there. I think the next day, I had a company reach out to me, and it was a coding company. And like I said, back then I had no interest in doing that because I knew it was gonna be a bunch of stuff that boring stuff that I did not want to do. So um, the lady contacted me, and like I said at the time, I'm working a temp job, which meant I didn't have PTO or time off. So the job that they reached out to me about, they wanted me to come and interview for, but I was gonna have to drive to South Carolina. And I'm like, I got a temp job. I can't be taking a day off to go do a job interview. I can't do it. So they were like the lady, and she was really nice. Her name was Karen. So Karen tells me, she's like, oh, well, you're in Wilmington, right? And I'm like, yeah. She said, well, my husband works as one of the producers or something. Do y'all remember the show One Tree Hill? They used to come on the is it the CW? What is it? CW, BW, whatever. Um, One Tree Hill with Chad Michael Murray. Her husband back then that show was still out. And I actually used to watch it. So when she said that, I was impressed. But they did the filming of One True Hill over near Wilmington. So she's like, I actually come there every weekend because my husband is there working on the show. So she was like, what I can do is rent out one of the conference rooms and we can do the interview there. So I'm like, okay, all right, still feeling like I don't want to do no coding job. I do not want to do no coding job. So she set up the interview for like a Friday evening at 7 o'clock, and I went to go meet her at the Hampton Inn. Now, usually when I have a job interview, I'm trying to put on a suit, put my best foot forward. This is how much I just was not feeling doing this job. I was like, I put on a pair of slacks and I think a turtleneck. It was, yeah, it was winter time. So, or it was going on. It was almost winter time. So yeah, I had on a turtleneck, and I didn't put on a suit coat or anything because I'm just like, I'm so not interested for real in doing this job. So, she set up the room. I went to the room. I talked to her, and she kind of explained because it was going to be a position where I had to travel. And at that time, I'm single. I have no children, so I'm looking like a prime candidate to them because they, for them having to send people, and it was 100% travel. I think I've shared that with you guys before. That my job, the prior job, was 100% travel, so I would leave home on Monday morning, and I would come back to Friday evening, and I would have to stay in the hotel all week. So, when she explained that, I was like, she was like, well, how do you feel about code? And I was like, I don't like it. I mean, I was as honest and transparent as I could be for this interview because part of me wanted her to not offer me this daggone job. So she asked me about that. Then she asked me, how was my coding background? I said, well, I did a little here and there, but I'm not a coder. I've always been more in management, so that's not my thing. She's still like, still moving ahead. Like I'm giving her 5-star answers. And I'm like, so anyway, next thing she says is, well, you'll have to stay up at a hotel. So we'll expect you to get your room for the week, but we'll give you an expense check every week to cover your mileage, your meal per diem, and your hotel for the week. So I'm like, look, I'm gonna be honest, my credit is not the best. All I have is, and back then it was called, I don't even know if they still have those First Premier cards, but I had a First Premier card, credit card. And that was one of those where you have to pay, like you start off, first of all, the credit limit was $300. That's all they gave. And you started off already on them because when they gave you the card, they took like $150 processing or approval fee or whatever for them taking a chance on you and giving you this card. They did that from the jump. So when I got the card, I already had a balance of $150 some on it that that I had pay down and keep down. So even though this was 2004, still at a decent hotel because they pretty much were like, we usually if possible we stick with the Hilton brand hotel, so you'll always be in either a Hampton Inn or Hilton or something like that. So I'm thinking to myself, I can't do that. I told her, I was like, look, my credit limit is $300, and I don't think $300 is gonna cover the hotel I would have to pay up front for a week. So I'm like, okay, deal breaker. That's it. Well, she turns around and says, well, I tell you what, we will go ahead and cover the cost of the hotel up front. And I'm like, really? So she was like, yeah. So then, she goes on to, with coding, even though, and I think it's crazy because even though I've been in this field now for over 20 years, whenever I apply for a job or change jobs, they want to give you a coding test. So back then, like I said, I had done a whole lot of coding. And so they gave me the coding test, and I pretty much, I bombed on the test. I wasn't really trying to do a whole lot with the test because I'm just like, I don't want to do this job. So, take the test. We wrap up the interview, and that was like Friday. Well, she called me on Monday, and I was at my temp job. So she calls and she tells me, well, we reviewed your test and you scored a 58 on it. Now this was 58 out of 100. So this was an F. Y'all hear me? This was an F. So I'm like, oh, okay, well, thanks for the opportunity. Blah, blah. She's like, but we're gonna give you the job anyway. And I'm like, I said to myself, they must have told this lady, look, helpful. Either you get out there and find somebody to fill this job or your ass is gonna be fired. Because I don't know why in the world this woman still wanted to give me this daggone job. I done flunked the test. I told you I don't like coding. What else? I ain't have the card or the credit to charge at the room. Y'all won't have to pay for that. I'm just like, what more signs do you need? Y'all got to be desperate at this point. So I don't know if that lady seen something in me or if the Lord was tapping on her heart and said, this gonna be a good one, because it ain't no way I would have hired me after the interview and the test. So, one of the things so the job was, the home office was in South Carolina. I'm living in North Carolina. So the way it was, they would bring you on and give you training based on how you did on tests. So if you did pretty well, the whole training was 6 weeks or 10 weeks. I can't remember whether it was 6 weeks, 10 weeks. Maybe it was 6 weeks. But anyway, so you had to move to, not move, but you had to go and live in a condo. And it was almost like, a reality show before reality shows came out, because you got was it 6 of us? I'm going to say it was 6 to 8 strangers living in the house. We don't know nothing about each other. All of us come to the condo to do the training. So because I did so terrible on the test, I had to do the whole full 6 weeks. Like if you had done really well, you may have just had to be there for a week. But because of, I bombed, they were like, well, you're gonna have to, you'll be staying the whole time. So I would have to pack up, move in with these strangers. I couldn't I could bring my car, but I couldn't like drive it. I had to carpool with people because parking was limited in the condo. It was just some crazy stuff, and I'm just like, I don't want to do this, So this is the part where my bestie reached in and did what she had to do. Because I'm like, on the phone with her, like telling her all the stuff I told y'all. I'm like, I don't want to do the job. I don't like code, blah, 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 blah. My bestie said, look, Shawty, you ain't got no job for real. You got a car note and you got rent. You better take that damn job, get your ass out there, go to work. And when she broke it down like that, and I thought about it, I was like, she got a point. So I took the job. So anyway, you know, um, I let the other job go, the $11 an hour job go. This one started everybody off. If you were brand new and didn't have a lot of coding experience, I think they brought everybody in at like 37.5, and like you got paid for being there during the time you did the training. You still got an expense check, because I kept waiting on, like, what is the catch? Well, here is the catch. And it's not really a catch. It's only a catch if you are not serious about the job, I guess you could say. Because the catch was you had to sign a contract with them that they valued their training and you staying at that condo and everything at like $10,000. So when you first came on, you signed a contract where you are locked in for 2 years. You cannot go work for anybody else as a coder, and you're basically, they own your ass for 2 years. And if they fire you, you got to pay the money back. If you quit, you got to pay the money back. So that was a lot of pressure, coming in, considering I didn't like coding, but I was like, right now it's the best opportunity I got going. So I jumped in there and I did it. And I'm not gonna say those first 2 years were easy, because they were not. Training was interesting because, like I said, we stayed in the house with strangers, and like every week somebody was leaving, not because of elimination like they do on reality TV shows, but somebody was always leaving because they had finished their 6 weeks, and then a new set of people would be coming in and starting their 6 weeks or whatever. So, at one point I was staying with, and I made a really good friend from Dallas, Texas. She and I were the two country girls, so we hit it off really good. And there go my best in the chat. Now that's the one right there, y'all, that gave me that speech. And she like, I'm sure. Yeah, she was like, you glad you took that job, huh? Yes, I am, bestie. I'm very glad that I listened to you when you told me to take that damn job. So yeah, but so at one point it was like you were staying with, like, I know when I was there, when I first got there were people there from Dallas, Texas, Louisiana. I think somebody was from North Carolina, somebody was from Atlanta. So it was like a different mix of people. I think there were 3 of us that were black, and everybody else was white. And then, like, as time, it's weird because, like, when I first got there, if you're the last person to get there, you have to be prepared to share a room, because the way it was set up, they had like 2 rooms that was a single bed, and then they had 2 rooms that had twin beds. So, like, of course, the people who've been there the longest, as people leave, they shifted to the rooms they had to themselves. So when you first get there, more than likely you're gonna have to stay with somebody and in a room. So I got there, I didn't know nothing about this lady. Me and her, I think she was from Virginia or somewhere. And so we ended up sharing a room with the double beds, and it was just, if you know me, I'm a very private person. I'm not one for doing stuff with strangers. So this was like a big deal for me to go stay in the house with these strangers, or whatever. So it worked out. I made some lasting friendships because my friend Kathy from Dallas, she and I are still friends. I haven't seen her since we left the training, but we were friends on Facebook and we talked and stuff. So it turned out good. There were some people that I met that I didn't like, and I didn't care for them, but we still finished the class. So anyway, at the end of the training, they ship you out, send you to these different assignments, and it's like whether you are ready or not, they throw you in the game like sink or swim. So, I had its ups and downs, but I made it past the 2-year process. And it's like once you make it past the 2-year process, and there were some people that quit. I know this one girl that was there when I was there. She was like, I cannot do it because it's really intense training. They tried to fit um a year's worth of class time in 6 weeks. So you had a lot of reading to do. You had tests and assessments to take and all that stuff. It was a lot. But that girl was like, I already know this is not gonna work. So she went on and wrote him a 10,000. She wrote him a check, and she quit. I'm like, I ain't got no 10,000 to get you people. We gonna make this thing do what it do. So I had some pitfalls. My thing was I'm the type of person. I'm a perfectionist. So I would spend so much time trying to make sure I was doing it correctly that I wasn't meeting productivity because they expect you to do so many accounts, per day. So I wasn't able to hit that because I was so focused on, I don't want to miss anything. Am I doing this right? Blah, 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 blah. So it came to a point where I think I was in Fayetteville, North Carolina, over near, what base is out there? I think it's a Marine base out there in Fayetteville. But anyway, I was out there and my production was not what they wanted it to be. So they called and complained and told, the people in charge, they didn't want me to come back. And that's a big no-no. For somebody to call the company, a client to call and say they do not want you to come back, yeah, that was bad. When I tell you, the lady called me and chewed my ass out, and I'm just sitting there stunned because I had never had nobody talk to me like that before. And then she was like, oh. So I'm just like, hold up. But then in the back of my mind, I started thinking, you signed the contract. So when I remember that part, I'm just like, you might want to rethink how you're gonna respond to this. So, I'm explaining to her what my process is and blah blah blah. And she basically like, I don't give a damn what your process is. You need to get in there and figure that shit out. So she brought me back in to the training and said that I needed to come back for a week and kind of figure out what I was doing wrong, that I wasn't able to meet production. And then they sent me back out again. So I just was like trying to make it work. But I lasted for 2 years. After the 2 years, when they realized, that I was an asset, that's when they start, feeling like, well, we don't want you to leave because now I can leave and go where I want to. And so that's when they start offering you bonuses. So, like I said, when I started there in 2005, they were paying me $37,500. By the time I got ready to leave, when I decided I didn't want to do it anymore in 2008, I had made it up to 65. So from 37.5 to 65 in, what was that, 3 years? I thought that was pretty good. I got a promotion, this, that, and the other. But, at the end of the day, it was like, what good is it to have the money? And I wasn't happy with, I was getting tired of travel, and I was thinking at some point, I want to, start a family. I'm getting older because at this point in 2008, I was 34 or about to turn 34. And I'm just like, this is not what I want to do. And my biological clock is ticking, all this stuff is going through my head. So I basically just decided I didn't want to do it anymore. But believe me, they were trying to hold on. So that's why, like, when I hear comments like the one I was telling y'all about, where the content creator was like, they'll get you one of them little coding certificates. I'm like, that coding certificate that you trying to knock people on is what got me from where I was with bad credit, a truck I was paying too much for, and a townhouse that I couldn't afford. It brought me to where I am now. Does that company still exist? Yeah, Lexico, it still exists, or I think they go by Source Corp now. But yeah, they still exist. And I don't know if they're still, you know what? That was back before they did the we weren't online yet, so they had some online assignments, but what they had was like in where the home office was, there was a resource center, and they would let people who lived locally that didn't want to travel come in and code from there, and they had the computer set up where people could code for hospitals that were outside of the Carolinas. So it was like, I guess, the predecessor to what we have now. But now everything is so online. I doubt anybody has to even come there for their training anymore. They probably do it all online, and have streamlined it that way. And it was good. It was a good way to get your foot in the door. A lot of people took advantage of it because they were fresh out of school. It's hard to get a job paying you to do something like that straight out of school when you don't have the experience, because that's something they look at, what your background in coding is. But because they know, that company knew it was hard to find people that were going to be able to up and travel and do what they need them to do, they made exceptions, and they would take people straight out of school, and they would train you and get you to where you're going. So if you were trying to do that as a new student, a lot of times it's hard to get on, So it was a blessing. I'm thankful for my buddy for talking me into it. And I'm thankful that the Lord told Karen that I was a good candidate, because Lord knows I went kicking and screaming. I did not want to do that damn job. But hey, worked out for the best. So, and so I just think, like I said when I started, people are very judgmental about where you're from and what you do for a living, all that stuff. To me, that is so shallow, to judge somebody. And what I always get a feel for when people do that is, especially somebody that has to brag every 5 minutes about how much something costs. I think that is so tacky, because number one, I never asked anybody how much they pay for something, because I think that's tacky. Unless it's like I'm interested in getting one, and I'm doing it for research purposes. But just to be asking people, like, I've had people actually ask me how much I make, and I'm like, that ain't none of your business. I get offended if somebody asks me that, or asking me how much I paid for. I remember when my daughter, she was going to private school initially, and she was the only Black student in the class. And at that age, they were like 6 and 7, and kids are kids. They don't get into the whole color thing. But she got in the car one evening when I was picking her up from school, because we had the car line, and she asked me, she was like, "Mom, how much did you pay for our car?" And I'm looking at her like, where did that question come from? And she was like, asking me all these questions. I was like, some of them darn kids, parents, have been talking about it, trying to get in my business and asking them questions. And she would come back asking me, I guess, to tote the information back to them. And I'm just like, tell them I paid what it cost. And that's all they need to know. I'm just like, that is so tacky. But I hate when people ask questions like that. I hate when people try to throw off on people with name brands and stuff. In my opinion, if you truly are, and that goes not only with money, but even with education and intelligence, if it's there, you don't have to advertise it. People are going to see it. Same thing with spirituality. Like, you ain't got to go around telling people you a holy roller if people can see that in your personality and through you. Same thing with money. Same thing with smarts or whatever. I don't have to walk around telling people what my IQ is, because they can tell whether I got any sense. And that's another thing. Common sense. You can't buy it. So that's something else that, certain things, trying to judge people on it, to me, just makes no sense. And like, if you have it, you don't have to wear a sign advertising that you got it. I know when I was living down in South Florida, I was working in Boca Raton, and that's in Palm Beach County, and there's a lot of old money in Boca Raton, but you would never be able to tell just looking at the people down there, because they weren't flashy. They weren't walking around in Versace's and this, that, and the other. And, it just looked like regular people. Because I remember we had something was going on, and somebody had donated you know, a whole cafe. They built like we didn't have a cafeteria at the they had a it was a hospice, and it was an inpatient facility. But they didn't have a cafeteria there for the employees. So we had one of the people who had lost a relative that we took care of to come back and donate a whole damn restaurant. And when he came in, I'm looking at him like, wow, I never would have guessed that he had that type of money. So it's like, in my opinion, if you really have it, you don't have to advertise it. And then telling everybody is not gonna make you a better person. I guess that's my thing. Like people knowing how much you make or how much you don't make does not change who you are as a person. So I don't get into all that shallow stuff. I hate that type of thing. And it bothers me to hear people like I'm in Alabama, I'm a Southern girl, tried and true. I ain't ashamed of it. I was born in the country as can be. I do not care about people knowing that. Nobody can make me feel bad about it because I mean that's where I'm from. It don't make me no less than nobody else. But like when I'm in this sector of YouTube, I'm always hearing about people that country they never been nowhere, and then there's this phrase calling us mud ducks and da da da. And I'm like, the only difference between the South and the North is geographically where we are. Yeah, they speak more proper up north. And my thing is, uh, I hate when people judge somebody on stuff like that. Like we don't judge people who speak that way. So why are you judging people who don't speak like you? And that has nothing to do with your capability to learn and or whatever. It doesn't make you a dummy just because you have a southern accent. And I feel like a lot of times that's what people think. And then, you know, I hear the people saying, well, they've never flown before, they've never been in an airplane, whatever. Well, I've flown a lot of times and it don't change who I am. I'm the same person I was before I flew on an airplane. So how is that a thing? I don't get that. But yeah, that's just my observation from what I've been seeing going on. And the other thing, I really didn't know about this until I heard my friends poloing about this whole submarine thing. And then I got on Deanna Irvin's live last night and they were talking about it. And I'm just like, having money does not make you make better decisions. That's obvious in what's going on with that because there were so many things that I heard about that I was like, in my mind, would have been red flags as far as doing this. And then just like, a few years, what was it, 2 years ago, the guy did the trip to take people up in space and they had to pay so much money to go. And then I find out they go and came right back in like 5 minutes. I'm like, so y'all can spend all them thousands of dollars to go sit inside of something that shot you up in space. You don't even get to get out and walk around. You just went up there and came back down. Well, that makes sense. That don't make sense to me. But hey, I'm not rich, so maybe I don't get it. But I'm just like, having money does not make you smarter either. It doesn't make you better. And to be honest, when I see people bragging about how much money they spend on stuff or how much they pay for stuff, what I see is a bill. Like even when I was actively dating, like people would, other females would be caught up into what kind of car he drives, and, where he lives, and blah, blah, blah. When I see what kind of car he drives, I see a car note. So your money is tied up. You got a car note to pay. If you got kids, you got child support. Depending on where you live, your rent or your mortgage is real high. So how is that, unless you living way under your means, you having all that stuff ain't nothing but bills to me. And I don't want to get with you and help you pay your bills, and I got mine under control. So I just never got into that whole money thing, and I don't know. That's just me. Tanisha said, no, that's not it. She said, I spent $1 on a lottery ticket. Hey, that if that dollar make you rich, I'm gonna show enough be your bestie. You know, we don't have a lottery here in Alabama, so we had to drive to the state line, which is dumb. We had to drive to either Georgia, Tennessee, or Florida state line from Alabama to get a lottery ticket. And I'm like, they could just start the lottery here, but we're such a Bible Belt state with all of these Christian backbiters and heathens that we can't have the lottery or anything like that here. So I'll never understand it. They letting people drive and spend the same money that people are making and earning here in another state. So I don't get that. But anyway, y'all, I just wanted to come in and do a quick chit chat, share a story with you. You know, I have a strict policy that I don't tell stories where I come out looking bad unless it's somebody can learn from. So anytime y'all hear me say something that don't paint me in the best light, look for a lesson, and it's a lesson in there somewhere. Trust me, or I wouldn't have told you. So today's lesson was don't judge people based on what they got, where they live, what they look like, how they sound. Because you never know what they're going through, what they went through to get where they at. So yeah, that's what I'm sharing today. So anyway, I will probably see you guys tomorrow. Thank you for tuning in. Please like, subscribe, and share. I would greatly appreciate it. I'm trying to get myself back into getting my watch time hours. They did come out and say they made some changes. I think they knocked the watch hours down from 4,000 to 3,000, which I'm still nowhere close to it. I haven't even hit 1,000 yet. And the sub count is 500 now instead of 1,000. Now I'm good on the sub count, but I don't have the watch hours, which is why I have been trying to be more diligent about getting out here and doing these lives. So I thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for liking, subscribing, and sharing. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye.